All right, so I'm going to send you the script now. Super excited for this alien episode.
Yes.
If we haven't said, we are covering aliens.
Andrew is so excited.
I am so excited
every
all
30
week.
seconds today.
What was I saying to you all
At
week?
work.
What was I saying?
Dude, I am so excited to tell you about this today.
What was I saying specifically? About what?
I don't remember verbatim.
No, this.
Oh, great aliens.
But how long have I been saying this alien episode?
Probably
bro?
the last 72 hours.
I texted you, right?
You did text me.
All right, I just sent you the script.
And you did. And you're like, dude, I'm
in all caps.
so excited for
Right?
these aliens. And I'm like, don't fucking tell me anything.
Nah, bro.
Because he does this. He'll tell me
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
did you see it? Did you open
ruins the magic.
Yep. Did you see it? Did you open it?
I'm getting there.
All right,
Jesus,
man. Take your time.
Christ. Oh, sorry. What was that?
What?
Do we just like...
No.
Can't say
Did you
Jesus
get it?
fucking Christ, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
Jesus Christ, bro. Died for whose sins? I didn't ask you to.
That's
bro.
true. I didn't ask you. I'm on it.
Okay, what does it say?
It says intro.
No. What does it say
Welcome
about that?
to- Oh. The Greenbrier... Did I say that? Greenbrier Ghost?
Yeah, man.
Greenbrier?
Yeah, man.
How do you say it?
You've been pranked.
That's
We're
not
not
it?
doing an alien episode.
Oh my...
Ha! Woo! Covering ghosts today, motherfucker.
That's why.
I committed
Why
hard
did
to
you
this.
do this?
Super hard. Before the show, me and him, and we're going to give you a little, sausage making here. Before the show, me and Yusei had a conversation because I was telling him, if you have a specific alien topic, and that's anybody that's listening, if you have a specific alien topic you want to
let us
hear,
know.
get in touch with me somehow. For the most part, you probably know me at this point.
You too, Barbara.
Yeah,
in
you
the
too,
UK.
Barbara, please.
Let us know.
Barbara is not in the UK.
Oh, where was she?
Barbara is my stepmother.
No, there was a... Who was the lady in the UK?
The lady, it's a gentleman, I assume,
Oh,
because most
sorry.
of our audience is men. And he was from Durham, England.
Durham?
And there were two people that listened from Durham,
Durham.
right? Durham. And then I've gotten two listeners from Durham on every, we've gotten them for every
Shout 'em out.
episode so far.
Oh, so that means they told their friends.
I'm 95. Either that man is downloading us on two different devices and it's one person, or he told a friend. And I'm hoping
friend.
I'm gonna say he told a friend. I'm gonna be
go.
happily ignorant here.
Let's go,
you know?
Durham.
But yeah, we're talking about a ghost today. And
I hate you so much.
not only are we talking about a ghost,
Yeah.
but we're returning back to fucking West Virginia,
No,
baby.
you said that.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. We're going back to this. I think that edible's hitting me a little bit.
Remember when I said that was a sip of beer?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
It was a big chunk.
Was it?
No, I'm just saying now because you're feeling it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
also smoked
That's
a
true.
little bit more. But so we are going back to West Virginia.
Yes.
We are covering a ghost, but I know why are you saying that.
Because
are you
I
afraid?
thought it was an alien. No,
Are you
I'm not
afraid?
afraid. No, I'm
No,
not
no, no,
afraid.
listen.
I am not afraid.
But listen,
Dearly brave Sir Robin. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But listen,
Go ahead.
listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
I know that you're afraid of ghosts.
I'm not
I
afraid
know
of
you
ghosts.
are. Listen to me.
Let's just get
I know.
this
I know
straight,
you're upset.
guys.
Okay.
I do not like horror
Yo, this
shit.
kid sleeps with the
I'm
windows
fucking
closed.
dead.
Bro. He won't even think about.
I'm
shutting the
not a
lights
fan
off,
of
bro.
horror movies. This is
Daytime
Tell
could
me-
be nighttime, and you say
okay.
room.
All right.
It's afraid of everything. this
Tell
little
me I'm
bitch.
wrong. Do horror movies invoke anxiety?
Anxiety is also thrilling.
No, that's no.
Disgusting.
Hey, bro, anxiety is like this thing's gonna murder me. Anxiety. That's different from this is a fun, fast ride. That's not the same.
Yeah, but a
it's
little
not.
bit of murder is okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's
You
just
know, not
literally it's
really. I wish
it's
murder would
by
stop,
design
but, you get it,
trying
yeah.
to make you anxious.
Yeah, bro, it's trying
Why
to
would
get you
you
to
like
the
that?
brink of death.
I don't like it.
Because you know why? Because
Go.
when you're at the brink of death, that's when you feel the most alive, my friend.
Oh my god.
You know?
Listen,
Listen, the story is so good. It's really.
I'm not afraid of ghosts.
You say you're going to be terrified of this.
I'm going to be
ghost.
terrified of this story.
No.
but
Honestly,
I'm not
this
afraid of
story
ghosts.
is.
I welcome them.
It's very interesting because I will say, which,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
This story is about the Greenbrier Ghost.
See, you got it wrong. It's your fucking story.
I'm
You looked at me
sorry.
like I
I'm
got
sorry.
it wrong.
I'm sorry.
Look at you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. When
What
you're
is
right,
it?
you're
How-
right.
What is
You
it? Say it.
The Greenbrier Ghost.
Greenbrier.
Greenbrier.
When I said it, you looked at me like a 3 heads. You didn't
Because you
say
said
yes or no.
Greenbrier. That's why. Because you said it weird, bro.
No, I didn't. I said Green.
So the Greenbrier Ghost.
Briere.
It's about if anybody knows it, they might know it by Elva Shue. That's her name. Was Elva Shue was her last name.
You can leave with that. 2 words I already know. Thank you.
What? You know that? You know the
Elvish
story?
and Shue?
No. Elva.
Oh, I think you said
The name
Elvish.
is Elva. No. She
Go
was
ahead.
not speaking Elvish.
I don't know. That's what I heard.
Elva Shue.
Yeah.
Oh, Elvish. Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that I say it out loud,
You're
you're right.
Mad Gab.
But yeah, this is like a very important case in American history. It's the only time a ghost has ever been used in court.
What?
Yeah, and
That's
this
actually,
is legit.
I'm not even kidding. That's actually pretty sick.
I'm telling you, this is a really
It's
cool
actually
story.
kind of sick.
So let me get into this intro, and we
go.
could kind of break it down a little bit.
All right.
Okay.
Cue the
And
music.
let's get focused now.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
we had our fun. Let's move this
Can we
going,
dim the lights to like a red?
bro. Honestly, I've never been harder. Wow, what an atmosphere! We are sitting in red darkness.
Yeah. I need this.
On January 22nd, 1897, Edward Shue had approached a neighbor asking if their son, Anderson Jones, could help his wife with some chores, claiming she wasn't feeling good when he had left the house. When little Andy Jones arrived at the Shue home, however, he found the lifeless body of Elva Shue strewn along the foot of their staircase. When the coroners arrived at the scene, the death was attributed to complications due to pregnancy.
You got it.
Devastated, Mary Jane Heaster, mother of Elva, started to pray hoping she'd see her daughter again, when suddenly her prayers were answered, setting in the motion of the tale of the Greenbrier Ghost. Right off the bat, this happened in the late 1800s.
Yep.
I had this conversation with you earlier. I didn't get into specifics, but I was trying to find court records for this, and I could not find anything. And then I found out later that they had all been lost or destroyed. This happened in West Virginia at a time right after West Virginia had become a state. It happened 10 years after West Virginia became a state. So their legal department was kind of fucked. They were just
They
were just using what they had, and they were just trying to figure it out, and things got lost apparently.
Right.
But this story in West Virginia is very famous. I found out while doing this. This is probably more famous than Mothman. 2 people that live in West Virginia, which I think is pretty interesting. But this case,
the people in that area,
in West Virginia in general. That being said, not only were the court records very hard to find, impossible to find, I did not find them. The information about these people was very difficult because we're going by firsthand accounts that happened literally 140 years ago. Right. So like we're going off of the word of a lot of people. So keep that in mind, because I do want to discuss an angle where, you know, I don't really see people discussing it. And like I said, with the Watcher, it was the same thing with the couple that they found. I just feel like there's an angle here that maybe we're not talking about, but
we'll get to it.
We'll get to that, yeah. But I just want to say, like, the backgrounds of them are very spotty, but the things we know are very important. So we don't know much. Let's try and give a little backstory about those involved. Starting with the victim of the story, Elva Zona Heaster, who would eventually become Elva Shue when she became married.
Okay.
She was known as Zona around the area that she lived and by all the people that were around her.
Right.
She was born in 1873 in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, specifically Meadows Bluff, about 125 miles away from Point Pleasant, home of the Mothman. She was very free-spirited, and she even had a child out of wedlock in 1895, which at the time...
super progressive.
Very progressive, yeah. Very naughty for the time. I wrote
dead.
that.
I didn't see that.
I totally
Very
forgot I wrote
naughty
that.
for the time. They were talking about Elva.
I totally forgot I wrote that. I was so excited to get to that. I totally forgot. Then there's Edward, who is the one that she would eventually be married to.
Okay.
He was a bit of a drifter, and he ended up in Meadows Bluff looking for work, as drifters did, and soon found work with a local blacksmith named James Crookshank.
That's a real name.
Love that name, Crookshank.
It's a great name.
In 19, I keep saying 19. It's crazy. 1896, fate would introduce Elva to the handsome blacksmith, who was 15 years older than her.
Ooh,
and the two would soon fall madly in love, according to those around them, and they were happily married by November of 1896 and moved into Edward's 2-story home, which he had bought in Meadows Bluff.
Gotcha.
Or bought or built, whatever he did. There is someone that I will introduce now. I didn't write it down, but I just figured it's just easy to get through.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned in the intro, I mentioned her mother, Mary Jane Heaster.
Right.
Mary fucking hated Edward immediately. The locksmith, yeah. Fucking hated him. Oh, the blacksmith. I'm sorry.
Why did she hate him?
Because she just didn't trust him. She felt like he wasn't doing like her daughter right. And she always was just suspicious of him just being just like a fucked up person, right?
Right, because he was a drifter.
And at the time, drifters kind of had a bad name for a reason. Most people, if you were wandering around the country looking for work and you couldn't go back home, there's a reason why.
Right.
You know?
Why are you here and not home in the community that raised you?
Exactly.
A little weird, buddy.
Mm-hmm. You know? I mean, not always.
Not always.
But, look at Eminem. 8 Mile. A hell of a tale. You know? Clarence Parents. You remember that?
I was thinking of, did you ever watch Kenshin?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't.
Kenshin, the show. Did you watch
I
Kenshin?
don't really know a lot of anime
He's
or
a
manga at
samurai that was killing a bunch of people for the government, and then he becomes a wanderer because he's, trying to atone for his sins.
I'm the wanderer. round.
But yeah, Kenshin's really good.
Cool.
But that's what someone. If it's a fucked up shit, you wander around.
Yeah, no, the drifter element of him is important.
Right.
It kind of gives him this mysteriousness where it's just like, well, what happened? Where did you come from? But yeah, so there's really nothing else to it past this. That we don't know anything else about these people. Elva, we don't even really understand we don't even know why she's free-spirited other than she had a child out of wedlock, but that realistically doesn't mean she was free-spirited. She could have just had an accident,
Yeah.
So we don't really know anything about them. But over time, they've kind of become just these two figures.
Right.
And it's important to keep that in mind because, again, this is all coming from first-hand accounts. We don't know fucking anything, right?
Yeah.
So
this could be fiction for all we care.
It is not, though, because the court case. That's the thing that's the whole reason that I did this was because the court case solidified so much of that.
Yeah.
Well, this is all from court, all this backstory. That's how we know all that. It's all the first-hand accounts from court.
I got you.
Yeah. So they were, okay. So when you walked in and I said I was looking at newspapers from the 1800s, it was because the newspaper articles from the time around the country, because this was something it was like the viral, so it was kind of like the Johnny Depp trial of that time. It's kind of nuts. And newspapers all around the country were reporting on this. So you could find what was said in the days of the trial through those papers, but not through court records, if that makes sense.
That's wild.
So there's a lot of spotty information, but there's some information. So that's where I got a lot of the information that I couldn't find.
Right. And back then they weren't writing clickbait stories.
No. They fucking spoke exactly to the point. They did not waste time. Like today, it's like 1986. There was a man, and that man went by the name of John, and he murdered the news article would be like, John Fuck from Bobo Town murdered his aunt and 6 people. They're buried tomorrow. Period. Yeah, it's fucking brutal, right?
Dead.
I think that started with Jack the Ripper because they just found that they could sell massive papers if they just write brutally what's happening. I think that's a Jack the Ripper thing, but whatever. So now, important to get into the thing that we do know the most about, which is the actual death. So I titled this "The Death." It's not the death. We don't know what happened during her dying,
right? Because it's
conclusively.
We showed up.
This is the body being found. Okay. So on the morning of January 27th, 1897, Edward left their home to go to work and headed over to the neighbor's house. Her name was Martha Jones. He asked Martha. She went by Aunt Martha to the community. And West Virginia was very progressive. I found this out. At the time, West Virginia was extremely progressive. The reason they left Virginia was because they didn't want to be involved in the politics of Virginia. Oh, shit. And they were black. Martha Jones and Anderson Jones, the two that found that helped find the body, were both black, and they played a role, and people listened to them. It was very progressive. And one of the lawyers later on in the case was the first black lawyer to practice in West Virginia.
That's fucking sick. Wait, and they helped a white family?
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was extremely progressive. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool.
And we thought it was just always shit back then.
Yeah, no, I guess I mean, I'm going to say that they probably weren't like,
I mean, yeah.
They weren't getting invited to barbecues,
right.
But like,
but like, no cookouts, but you see a dead body on the street, they're going to be like,
but if
they're going to ask some questions.
Needed a favor, go ask the kid, But yeah, so he asked Aunt Martha, or Martha Jones, if she'd mind sending her son, Anderson Jones. And this is interesting. We don't know if his name is Anderson or Andrew. Right. But I'm 95% sure it's Anderson. Right. One guy kept saying Andrew, but he was the source of 90% of my information. Yeah. So I don't know who's right or wrong, but everyone else says Anderson. So I think he might have fucked up. I don't know.
All right.
But Anderson, Andrew, whatever.
Andy Jones.
He went over to the Shue home to see if Elva needed help around the house. Elva had been sick for a few weeks and was being treated by a local doctor, George W. Knapp. George W. Knapp. She agreed to send her child over as soon as he finished with his own work. Edward supposedly returned to the house of Martha 3 separate times to see if Anderson headed over there. Like, hey, did he go over there yet? And she'd be like, no, he's not done with his stuff. And he'd be like, all right, just please, like, send him over. Like, come on. And that is weird. But eventually, he finally did go over.
So the husband asks Andy Jones.
Yeah. Martha's son.
Okay.
To go check on Elva because she had been sick for a couple weeks.
Right.
And she was being treated by local doctor George W. Knapp.
And she was pregnant at the time.
No.
Okay. Am I getting ahead of myself?
She was not pregnant at the time. A little bit. This is a weird part of the story.
Because you said that she died
of pregnancy complications. I have a theory about that. But we will get back to that.
Is that an Epstein? Did they Epstein her?
No. I have a theory about that.
Did they suicide her?
I think that George W. Knapp is a good guy, and I have a theory about that. But we'll get back to that.
Oh, shit. This is riveting.
Yeah, it is, bro. It is. It's so good. Edward supposedly returned to the house 3 times for Anderson to head over there, whatever. And he finally did. But what he found was more than housework. Though the details are difficult to pin down, this is generally what we believe to have happened that morning. Anderson arrived at the Shue residence and knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He found this odd, so Anderson went through the front door and called out to Elva, because at the time where they lived was very small and everyone knew each other.
Right.
So like someone coming in because they didn't hear you knocking was common for the time. They would just walk into each other's houses.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's not like today where we're just like, fuck, who calls me?
Exactly.
Just text me.
Yeah.
Back then they're like, hey, I'm in your house.
Even though I hate texting, I'd so much rather call. I call everyone.
Well, me and you are FaceTimers.
We are FaceTimers.
And I love that about you.
I love that about you. Man. Just more and more each day.
Just a heads up, real friends FaceTime each other.
Yeah.
Because they want to.
And if you don't FaceTime each other and you've been friends with someone for 20 years, honestly, fuck them. Because they don't like you. They don't care about you. Fuck them, bro. So Anderson went through the front door and he called out to Elva and she did not answer. And then he soon just kind of walking through the house trying to figure it out. He found her body laying on the bottom of the staircase, like just kind of strewn across the floor. He spoke to her thinking that she was maybe sleeping, but she didn't respond. And he described the scene. Her body was stretched out straight with her legs together. One arm was at her side. The other one was rested across her chest and her head was tilted to one side. Almost like she was like speaking. So understandably shaken, Anderson runs out and he runs and tells Edward and then Martha, his mother, what happened. Okay. Right. So Edward and Martha both arrived at the house around the same time. And I believe Martha called for the doctor that was treating Elva, George W. Knapp. About an hour later, Knapp arrived on the scene to find Elva had already been moved, cleaned, and dressed in traditional like funeral wear, which was like the high neck, the traditional like high neck shirt.
So this is their account.
Yeah. This is Anderson, Martha, and Edward's account was all the same. This was all like corroborated between the 3 of them. Yeah.
Okay. So there's not much reason to lie here.
Exactly. Yeah. This is just finding the body. None of the lying really comes into play here. Yet. But about an hour later, Knapp arrived on the scene to find Elva had already been moved, cleaned, and dressed in the traditional neck-high burial clothing. which is like it's like a turtleneck almost at the time. I don't know if you've ever seen. It's like frilly. It's white.
No.
It's like a very specific thing.
Right.
If you've seen anything from that time, from like burials, the women always have it on. It's like a very specific thing.
Right.
She was already dressed in it, and Edward was like totally distraught. Like he was like fucking freaking out. Right.
But wait. Here's where I'm confused.
What?
Knapp shows up an hour later on the scene.
Knapp,
yeah. Isn't Edward still at the house?
Yeah, he's there. Edward, Martha, and Anderson are at the house.
So they see the body in this position.
Mm-hmm.
When does her body now dressed and cleaned
Edward
up?
did it in the hour that it took George W. Knapp to get there. Yes, Edward did it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. Edward was the one that moved her and did all that. And he was freaking out. No. He was freaking out.
I thought this is where the ghost dressed her.
No. That would be nuts.
Yeah.
That would be nuts. No. This was Edward. Flesh and blood man. But he was losing his shit, and he was sitting with her dressed with her head in his hands, just rocking back and forth, just freaking out. Right?
Denial.
Yeah.
Right.
So, George W. Knapp goes up to try to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
First, he tried to resuscitate her, but obviously she was dead. She had been dead for hours. If not a day. And then anytime Knapp would try to examine her like head, Edward would lose his shit because he was just like, why? Just leave her alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dude, why was he watching? Ugh. I mean, I guess. Ugh.
So he insisted that he leave her alone, and the doctor conceded and ruled the death everlasting faint, which is, I wish that people still had that problem. It's just a heart attack. He just labeled it a heart attack. He had no reason. He had no idea why. Just labeled it a heart attack. Before he eventually changed it to complications brought on by pregnancy, which, keep that in mind. So the body was then set for viewing in the Shue home, which was customary at the time. They would just have the bodies in the house.
Right.
Edward reportedly never left the side of Elva, even rolling up cloth and placing it by her head and neck, claiming that it would make her more comfortable.
That's so fucking sweet.
And her body was then buried, and that's where the story should have ended for Elva Shue. But it doesn't. Between the things that happened at the wake with Edward and him kind of losing his shit when the mortician was kind of trying to look at her.
You mean the doctor?
The doctor, George W. Knapp.
Right.
You know, the totally heartbroken Mary Heaster, who just lost her daughter, could not accept the coroner's report because it made no sense.
Oh, this makes
Right?
sense. So because the mom hates Edward.
Yeah.
She
never
juicy.
liked Edward.
This is getting juicy. Okay.
She never liked
I know
Edward.
where this is going.
And she insisted that there was more to the story, but there was no evidence but a gut feeling. And then something weird happened. Wetting my lips, getting my jowls ready. Mary had taken a piece of cloth out of the casket before Elva was buried, and that piece of cloth started to smell really bad.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, makes sense. It does get weird. Assuming it needed to be washed, Mary placed the cloth in a wash bin, and the water immediately turned blood red. And then she took the cloth out, let it dry, and from that point on, it was stained pink.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but she washed it like 50 times after that, and it became frayed and old looking, but was still pink and would not go away.
I mean, yeah, but this is 1897. They didn't have fucking Tide.
You're 100% right.
Of course
but
it's pink.
To be fair, eventually they had bleach and vinegar and stuff like that. They had stuff that would take this out.
Really?
Yeah, 110%.
Yeah,
You'd be so surprised how much vinegar could do.
Yeah, my brain can't think that far back.
Yeah, it's surprising. You know, like people had haircuts. With what? I've got an electric buzzer to my face for my entire life.
They have swords that you cut your hair, bro. That's normal. But like bleach?
Wait, hold on. Let's back up.
Scissors are two swords. Am I crazy? I'm the one that's crazy in that fucking reference.
I wouldn't say they're two swords.
You're saying, oh, it's so far back. Look at this technology. I'm like, yes, swords have been around for that long. It's two swords.
I'm done.
I'm crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy. Yeah, there's two swords connected. Cut the hair off of your head. That's what scissors are. They're two swords.
This is ridiculous.
You got mad at me because the technology was so old. I said they had swords. That's not crazy.
She washed it a whole bunch, did not fade.
Yeah.
And then she took this as a sign, and she was very religious. So she started to pray like way. No. Like people would say that she was like very devout, right?
For that time.
Yeah, for that time, which is fucking devout. Let me tell
what
you,
were they saying
devotion.
on the message boards in 1897.
Yeah, bro. They were just like, thou art fucking not fucking with this bitch. She's real praying this one. So
thou art got that.
She
bleach?
started praying real hard.
Yeah,
like making an impression on people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened one night while Mary was sleeping.
Yeah.
She would awaken to find her daughter walking around her room.
No, we're not doing this.
She tried to touch the spirit in disbelief, but then the spirit vanished. Mary started to pray harder than ever when finally she was visited by her daughter not once, not twice, but 4 nights in a row. During these visits, her daughter would start to tell her things that Edward would do to her. She would claim that he was abusive, claiming that they got into an argument the night before her body was found. Mm. She said that Edward was infuriated by the fact that Elva had not cooked meat.
That Edward was mad?
Yeah. Like for dinner.
Like he was tight.
Yeah.
That was she was telling the mom.
Tight, bro.
She was telling the mom that he was tight that she didn't make meat for dinner.
Yeah, she was like, she made dinner, but it didn't have meat. And
so
she
dumb.
freaked out.
Dumb. This is like
he freaked
super
out.
Confirmation bias.
Hold on.
She just didn't like him.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on.
I'm
hold on.
At the mouth.
Hold on.
Meat.
How is that supposed to help me not laugh?
It's meat.
So Elva had not cooked meat for
I mean, back in the day, it was probably like you look forward to that shit.
I mean, he was a blacksmith, so he would work pretty hard, to be fair to him.
You gotta replenish that protein somehow.
I mean, these bitches don't know, man. I love women. it's a joke.
Honestly,
it's
it doesn't matter. It's getting cut out.
She then claimed that he became violent, choked her, and then broke her neck. The ghost of Elva proved this, and this is fucking, honestly, the vision of this in my head is super creepy. She showed her mother that her neck had been broken by facing her, and then turning her head fully around to face the other way,
right.
Turning around, making eye contact with her, and then walking out of the room, continuing eye contact.
That's fucking crazy.
Super creepy.
Yeah. It doesn't help that you described it so well.
Yeah, I had to, because it was like the thought of that happening. I just had to write it down that way, because it was like that's not
a
nuts.
scene in a horror movie already?
No. Literally, that is
Someone's
the testimony
done that, right?
in court. So now, do you have any questions about what happened?
Honestly, I would very much like to move on, because this is terrifying.
Cool. So what do you have questions about?
Nothing.
All right, man.
I believe that happened. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. But I think she's fucking crazy. She's just really sad that her daughter's dead.
Wait.
All right, good.
Wait. This was the final straw for Mary.
Yeah.
And no one in town would believe her.
Obviously.
Basically the same thing.
Right.
A couple people started to believe her over time, but in the beginning, everybody was like, yo, Mary's losing her shit.
Right.
You know? After a couple weeks of holding strong to her story, to her credit, from the minute she started saying it until the day she died, she told the exact same story. Every time. Everyone says she never wavered on her story in any way. Right? Keep that in mind.
I mean, you practice telling it enough, you get pretty good at remembering it.
Yes and no. It depends. So there's a lot of, like one of the big characteristics when you get somebody lying, like a police tactic of trying to get somebody, is asking them for the story 100 times. Because eventually, if you're lying, you're going to change something because it didn't happen.
Right.
So you don't remember every detail every time.
True.
You know? And this was supposed to be over 4 nights. So that's like pretty significant in my opinion, you know, because that's like a lot to remember. She finally convinced her brother-in-law, Jonathan Heaster.
Yeah.
After comparing her story with Anderson Jones' story from the morning of, they brought the idea to John Preston, who was the prosecuting attorney, which was located in the nearby Lewisburg. Lewisburg was like the big city that they lived by.
Right.
Preston took some convincing. Apparently it took him all day of them pleading their case for him to actually, go out and do it. But eventually he agreed, and he looked into the matter. He said, I'll go out and I'll try to figure out what's going on. I'll investigate, yeah. John Preston he's a very interesting guy, because he is weirdly just believes her immediately. Like, it took him like 4 hours how long could they have fucking spoken? 4 or 5 hours at most? I mean, that's a lot of time. So like he had to have been convinced pretty quick. So I don't really understand why he investigated. But maybe he just had a gut feeling, like, let's just see, let's just see what happens.
Maybe she told him, He's a drifter. We don't really know much about him.
That's actually a very good point. And that leads right into what I'm going to say. That actually is a very good point.
Who knows what his past is like? I never liked him.
Well,
and there's confirmation bias. And
you
he's
say,
like,
would you like to get to know about his past?
I would. I'm going to stop talking.
Would you like to get to know about his past here? I think, okay.
All right.
So now we're going to get into the investigation area. All right. Preston starts his investigation in Meadow Bluff by speaking to the doctor who had seen Elva. George W. Knapp.
Yes.
Knapp explained.
Did I do it?
Yeah, you fucking nailed it. I love you for that. Super attracted to you. Knapp explained that he couldn't do a proper examination of Elva due to Edward being so unhinged when he tried to check her neck and face. Okay.
Say that again. Sorry, one more time.
That's fair. Knapp explained that he couldn't do a proper investigation of Elva due to Edward being so unhinged when he tried to check her neck and face.
So when he tells the investigator, hey, listen, I couldn't check out the head and the neck because it was really emotionally traumatic to watch, for him to watch, the husband to watch.
100%.
So I kind of just did the best I could with 90% of the body.
Yes.
Got it.
And George then... I'm sorry, not George. I wrote George. I'm sorry. John Preston, the prosecutor investigator of this all. He then interviewed other people in town that had come to the wake and the viewing, and a decent majority of them said Edward was being very suspicious after the fact when they sat and thought about it. He kept putting shit by her neck and face. Like he wasn't letting people get close to her.
Wait.
Hold on.
Wait, pause.
Did it flip for you?
He was putting rolls of towels.
Yeah, saying to make
her
her
comfortable. So that to make her dead body comfortable for the viewing and whatever.
Nailed it. Yeah,
but he was hiding the marks on her neck.
So
I believe Martha.
Yeah.
I believe Martha. Mary.
So they all said he was being very specific. Christ. Very suspicious at the funeral, stating he basically guarded the corpse the entire time. Right?
I mean that, yes, but also
in a weird way, it was over a day. He never left her side to do anything. He's there the entire time, right?
But then I look at it from the, like, God forbid anything ever happened to my family like that, I would be with them all the time. I get it.
It was the way that they said he was standing. He was being like possessive of her, not like. He wasn't mourning. He was more worried about what people walking by were doing than the woman in the casket. How about that? That's probably the best way to put it.
So he was surveilling.
He was surveilling. He was literally guarding. They said they described him as guarding her corpse.
He wasn't grieving. He was surveilling.
Guarding.
Yeah, that's not okay. Yeah.
Yeah, wild. So this gave Preston the reason needed to investigate further because he was just like...
I got a question, though.
Yeah.
Because couldn't he have just buried her instead of doing all this work of guarding her?
Again, it was a very small town. Everybody knew each other.
Right.
What would the excuse have been?
I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
What?
I don't want to see her like dead.
Oh, you mean not try to hide it?
Yeah, like why would he try to hide the marks? I'm playing devil's advocate.
Because if he didn't do a viewing, she had family that lived there. Her mother lived there. Her family lived in town. Like they were not going to let that slide. They're not going to let him just bury her.
Yeah,
they'd fucking freak out. Especially her mother didn't like him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, forget everything I said.
Jesus Christ. So this gave Preston the reason needed to investigate further.
Yeah.
He would start to look into the background of Edward himself and find some really interesting things.
Oh, no.
You ready for this?
The drifter.
He had actually been married twice before.
That's a red flag.
With one of the wives ending in death.
Oh, that's a super red flag.
Ready? During the majority of his first marriage, he served 2 years in prison for stealing a man's horse, which at the time was equivalent to Grand Theft Auto, which was stealing a man's vehicle, literally, which is really funny. But you would get people would get hanged for stealing people's horse. Like that was that was the worst thing you could do.
My brain literally went from San Andreas to Red Redemption in like 2 seconds.
It's the same crime, more or less.
Yeah, sorry. That's so funny.
But he spent the majority of whatever time he had left with his first wife totally
running away,
just beating her senseless.
Jesus Christ.
Just beat the fuck out of her, apparently. She testified in court. He beat the fuck out of her real bad, right? And apparently, the second wife was helping him build a chimney, right? And Shue claimed that a brick fell on her head and struck his second wife, killing her.
This dude said on record, we were building a chimney.
Yeah.
Brick fell on her head.
Yep.
What are the odds?
Yep.
Oops.
Yep.
What was me?
Yep.
That's it?
Yep.
Then move to another town?
Yep.
This guy's a
this is not my wallet.
murderer.
And then he moved away from there.
Yeah, this guy did it.
Yeah. So Preston used what he found from his background and the investigation from everything else. And aside from the ghost, excluding the ghost story, right?
Yeah.
This all led from the ghost story, but excluding that, he had enough evidence just by investigating from that ghost story that he was able to get a warrant to exhume her body.
Whoa, wait a minute. So he took all this shit. He took a ghost
So he started investigating because of a ghost story.
Right. So
and found enough evidence to get her body dug up from the ground and autopsy.
Like he went to a judge and was like, because
and the judge granted it immediately.
This ghost said, Judge, this ghost said.
He left all that out.
Oh,
he left. He was very specific of leaving the ghost stuff out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll get into that later.
I got a little worried.
That actually comes into play. That he didn't do the ghost story, and we'll talk about that
because he would know that would get thrown out in court.
Exactly. It's inadmissible if the prosecution brings it up.
Right.
Little teaser. So Preston was able to get her body exhumed for a proper autopsy. Edward, hearing the news of her body being exhumed, was quoted as saying, I know that I'll be arrested if the body is dug up, but they would never be able to convict me. Sorry. Just my mouth got soft at the end.
Convict me?
Yeah, they'll never be able to convict him of a crime, more or less.
I mean, yeah, right? It's 1897. They don't have proof of anything. So, sure. But that doesn't mean you didn't do it.
On February 22nd, 1897, the body was taken to the Nicholas Schoolhouse, where a five-man jury and a few doctors, led by George W. Knapp, performed the proper autopsy. Due to the weather being very cold, the body was in near perfect condition. So it was the best case scenario. The autopsy conclusion was unimaginable. Her neck had been broken and her windpipe was crushed. There was damage to the ligaments around her neck, clearly showing that she had her neck broken by someone from the front. Nothing else was found on the body whatsoever. No bruises, nothing else but her neck and face. Shue was then arrested and charged with first-degree murder that day.
I'm so upset with myself that I thought...
I wrote it that way. I wanted you to sympathize.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
You made me slander this
Bro,
lady.
I've been fucking with your head all week. You have no idea.
I feel so violated. Because this lady...
Welcome to my house, bitch! Just start throwing knives at you and shit.
This poor lady... I was like ripping her up. I was this fucking... She didn't like him.
And everyone, the reason I wrote it that way, realistically, I'm going to be totally honest, is because I wanted you to see it as the way the town was experiencing. Because the town is like, what the fuck is going on?
I
right?
mean, yeah.
So this is the trial of the century. This is the biggest trial other than like war-related things from the 1800s, literally. It's insane. This was huge when it happened. I don't know.
Where do you find
it's
this
just
shit?
West Virginia. So now we're going to get into the third act, the trial. So it's important to understand what was happening at the country in the time. And this is where I'm going to include my little occultist thing here. During the late 19th century, occult topics flooded the countries. Seances, supernatural abilities like telepathy and stuff like that. And the interest in supernatural things like ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call them, had totally taken the country by storm. Seances, this was the heyday of seances. This is where people were figuring out ways.
Isn't that when they
a seance is like where you sit in a circle, usually at a table. No. So just to get into that real quick, right? Yeah. This is something I'm super interested in from that time.
Yep.
There were Houdini, Harry Houdini.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
He spent the latter half of his life dedicated to trying to point out these people and figure out how they were faking it. Okay? And there was only one act that he couldn't figure out how they did it. And I'm not going to get into any detail because I want to cover that because that's super interesting.
Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah. But other than that, there's everyone he was able to point out as being fake and scamming people, and they were just doing it to make money off of poor people. The same,
religion.
I'm sorry, not poor people. Like just fucked up, sad people. I couldn't think of the word sad. Sad people.
Right.
Right. So like, did you ever watch John Edwards on TV when you were a kid?
No, that.
So he had a show called John Edwards Crossing Over, right? And he would sit there and go, he starts with an L. And they'd be like, no. And he'd be like, sorry, an M. And they'd be like, yeah, Matthew. And he'd be like, fuck yeah,
that's
Matthew.
right.
That's the one, bitch.
Probability.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what they used to do, basically. But it was on a less, it wasn't televised, obviously. It was in a room. It was very intimate. And they had full control of the people. So it was a different time. People were a lot more ignorant,
100%.
So they would sit at a table and they would have mechanisms made so that they could hit a pedal and the table would move and shit.
Right.
And they would convince them that they were speaking to the spirits of their loved ones.
Right.
And a lot of people, again, it's not a surprise that this was happening because the last century was very hard for the country, filled with conflict and blood. A lot of people died in the Civil War, and being able to see those people again, was something that they thought was finally possible with the seance. Right?
Right. A lot of denial and grieving.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And of course, again, today we understand the tricks that were used to prey on the poor people. The poor people, not poor people. Right. But at the time, people truly believed these things were possible, and realistically, some still do. That's still something that people believe, and they still do. Yeah,
that's wild to me. That I know what a seance is.
Yeah, it's still something that you could go to. People still do seances.
Oh my God.
And the idea of a loved one coming back to life to tell the terrible truth of their murder struck a chord with people.
I mean, yeah,
because it's very compelling, just completely aside from your ideas.
Right.
But at the time, it also kind of had the creepy factor that people just were interested in. It just draw people to it. You know, on June 22nd, 1897, John Preston began his attempt to sway the jury. But he did not want to bring up Heaster to the stand, Mary Heaster. He felt like if he brought her up, Hester, I don't know why I said Heaster, the mom, yeah. If he felt like if he brought her up, the ghost story, the story of her ghostly daughter, that's probably a better way to put it, would harm the reputation and throw away an already tough case.
Right.
One, it wouldn't have been admissible.
Right.
Because technically,
it's
even
hearsay.
if it's a ghost, it is.
If there's anything I learned from
it
the
is
Amber
fucking,
Heard trial,
honestly,
it's
it is actually hearsay because technically it's a ghost telling someone who is then telling you. It is. It is not admissible in court. Right.
Yeah.
And the case was already really hard to win. No one saw what happened. They found the body. No one actually saw her die. She had a broken neck. She was found at the bottom of the stairs. She could have just fell down the stairs. Like, there's really no way of proving it was him.
He tilted her head. And never mind. He wasn't there.
What?
Sorry. Nope.
Because he tilted her head.
I was thinking that he controlled, changed the position, but he didn't.
So he didn't want to mention the ghost story at all. He presented all the facts, including the testimony from Anderson and Martha Jones, the autopsy done by George W. Knapp, and the stained pink sheet, which is why I include that. That was put in as evidence in court. Right?
Okay, all right. I get it.
And they spoke about Edward's strange behavior and his checkered past. They got into his past marriages. So I just want to be totally clear. I wrote this the way that I think it happened, because, again, it's very difficult to piece things together. I don't know if they knew that he was married twice before all of this.
Who knew?
Elva or Elva's mother.
Oh,
I don't know if they knew. I don't think they did.
Why would they?
Because I think that maybe Elva knew, because he would always say that he wanted to have 7 wives and he was on his 3rd.
What?
But I don't think they knew what happened to them. I think he just left. In his stories, I would say. I don't think that they knew that one of them died and all that. Yeah,
a brick fell.
But he would say all the time that I want to have 7 wives, because he was just a fucking maniac.
Record?
He was just that was something that people testified that he would say all the time. He was just a weird fucking guy.
No one's making that up. That's such a weird specific.
That was, again, a lot of the little things that I would hear, I wouldn't include because it would be one person, but this was a consistent thing through all the stories. Yeah.
Who says that?
Really weird. And then, after all of this, they did the best they could with what they had, but again, it was a very hard thing to win.
Right.
And then it was the defense turn to make a total mockery of the entire thing. They were going to just fucking rip it apart,
obviously.
Right? The evidence
Wait. Who's Edward's lawyer?
Edward's lawyer is actually the first black lawyer in West Virginia.
Get the fuck
out. Accompanied by 2 other guys, but I don't care about their names.
That's sick, though.
Fine. So now the evidence was very weak, as we said. There was no eyewitnesses or evidence of anything that happened. B, even though I said 1, Elva had been sick for weeks and had been seeing Dr. George W. Knapp, who had also testified to this. So that was also kind of another thing, I think that they were going to run with the theory that she was sick, kind of got up to do something that she shouldn't have been because she was sick, and then fell and died. That's, I think, the way that they were going. Because that's pretty logical.
That was their angle, yeah.
And to be fair, it's a pretty logical thing to say.
Right.
Because her windpipe being crushed and her neck being broken from the front could also mean that there was just trauma to the front. They can't say it was because someone choked her.
Right. It's not
because at the time, I assume that the marks would be kind of gone from like the black and blues. I don't know if that stays on a corpse, but
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Someone fact check us, please.
Yeah. And also, the unfortunate, obvious thing, Edward was obviously a piece of shit with a terrible past. But that doesn't mean that he killed his wife. It just doesn't. It without a shadow of a doubt, I included without a shadow of a doubt. Because I think with everything, I do think he killed his wife. But there is really, realistically at the time, it's very hard to do that, right? So the defense started and successfully dismantled the prosecution's case when finally they decided the nail in the coffin would be to bring up Mary Heaster to the stand to end this all once and for all.
So the defense is trying to embarrass them by bringing up the mom because she has ghost stories.
Exactly. And I want to point out that the defense was allowed to bring this story in because the defense is using it as a character flaw on the mother, and it doesn't really have to do with the case. They're interrogating the mother, so they can bring up whatever they want from her past. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The prosecution can't bring it in as evidence.
Got it. Makes sense.
It's not evidence.
Makes sense. Because the people... The mom was accusing the husband. Sorry, the mom was accusing the husband, right?
Yeah.
The mom testified
against
in court
Edward.
Against Edward.
Yeah.
So in the defense's mind, let's
show
her show the jury that she's crazy because she believes in ghosts.
Yeah.
So that it makes everything else she says look fucking Looney Tunes.
Exactly. Which is honestly
perfect.
That's the perfect
plan, right? Yeah.
You'd think. You would, but
here we go.
So he brings her up, and she tells her entire side of the story, claiming the 4 nights that her daughter visited her. She had told her the truth of what had happened.
So it didn't work.
She didn't miss a beat. And as the defense tried to make her waiver specifically, she not only didn't, but insisted harder that what she was saying was true. And at one point, the defense said, can you stop lying? And she said, I'm not lying. And the defense said, it was quoted in the newspaper. It was like, can you stop lying? She said, I'm not lying. And they said, well, then tell us what really happened. And she said, if you want to know what really happened, then listen to what I'm saying, because what I'm telling you is not a lie.
Let's fucking go, man.
Yeah, she was fucking adamant, right?
Yeah.
And that's the context that's why I brought up the occult boom and all that, because everyone in the room wanted her to be right, right? Including the jury.
This is a Cinderella story.
Heaster totally won over the jury, who was now totally convinced of her story. The defense's biggest twist turns into their biggest downfall. They totally fucked it. Yeah. An hour of jury deliberation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got this guy.
Edward was found guilty of first-degree murder, but was sentenced to life, not death.
I mean,
right?
That's worse, no? I would argue that.
Yeah, it depends on... They didn't agree, but it depends. And this marks the only time in American history where a ghost's testimony was used in court.
That's fucking
like, to convict
sick.
someone. And that testimony... Hold on. There's more. That testimony...
I'm still applauding you,
Oh,
bro.
yeah. I appreciate. That's awful. So the testimony of the ghost story, right? The reason that it's the only time that it's been entered in court as like a major part of the case was because the judge had to acknowledge to the jury that that's what they were talking about, because that was obviously the thing that swayed them. So the judge actually, in his presentation to them, to kind of let them know what the next steps were, had to bring up the ghost story. So that's why it's included in legal documents. So he was...
That's wild.
Yeah. So he was actually found guilty due to the jury being swayed from the ghost of Elva Shue, letting them know what happened. And it's wild.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Edward was held in a local jail.
I was gonna feel weird after this? I feel like I just wanted a champion. I just want a fucking World Series.
Well, wait. Well, I'll get into why.
Right now.
You know what, though? Yeah, you're kind of right. I am rooting for Elva. It's just I feel weird because a part of me is like, I feel like I don't really understand how I could explain this. It's fucking, it's just creepy. It's still really creepy,
Well, yeah, I mean.
But... Right?
I mean, the creepiest part is the head turning, walking out.
That's 100%.
That's 100% the creepiest part.
And that's the part that I want to believe happened.
But what's creepy about it...
She told that in court, which is why I know that.
Oh my God, it's fucking...
Yeah, she told that story, which is why I know.
What's creepy about that is the fact that is what swayed everybody.
Yeah, because they were just like, holy shit, did you hear that, bro? Yeah. Jeremiah, you hear that shit? And he was like, oh, I am, because he's probably from somewhere that isn't America. It was a good time for the country, you know? So Edward was held in a local jail for 2 days when he was finally being taken to the West Virginia State Penitentiary, where he would stay for the rest of his life. During that time, a lynch mob was formed, and they did try to get him.
Oh, shit.
But the sheriff of the town did his job, did really good, and took an incredibly shaken and scared Edward into the woods where he would hide until they left. So he was shitting his pants. He thought he was dead, right?
I mean, yeah. The town comes after you.
Yeah, exactly.
They're usually going to get you.
They made sure that he was safe. And then once the hype went down, they brought him to Luxembourg and brought him to the prison. He then died in the year 1900 from unknown causes and was buried in an unmarked grave, which has been lost to history. We do not know where his body is. So what really happened?
Someone died.
Of course, it's impossible to say.
Right.
Can't tell you for a fact.
Yeah.
But most people see Mary's story two different ways. Some see it as being totally legitimate, that Mary really believed that she was visited by her daughter, and that they really believed that. No matter how it happened, whether it was a dream or whatever, they believe that she believed that, right?
Right.
Then there's the camp of people that believe that Mary is an absolute fucking genius and concocted this entire scheme because she was always suspicious of Edward, and she concocted this scheme knowing that her being religious and all of that would play a role because people said that she was deviously smart.
Right.
But she never wavered on it, which makes me think that that's not true. But I would love for that to be the ending of the story. If she just made the whole shit up, I would love that.
Am I crazy? But
yes.
It's more, to me, it's more believable that her spirit
gave
her that information.
Yeah, I actually feel like it is. I feel like Occam's razor here tells me it's the spirit.
What's that? I don't know what that
it's is. Like the most obvious solution is the solution.
Gotcha.
Or the most obvious reason is the reason.
Got it. We're learning here, folks.
We're educated.
We learned that they had bleach in 1897.
Yeah, and vinegar. I said vinegar.
Sorry, my bad. You know what I meant.
No, it's okay.
And they couldn't get the blood
just twisting my words in. It's fine.
So whatever happened to that cloth?
It was admitted as evidence, and that also kind of turned the jury. That was the first thing that was like. So my thing with that is,
did they use that as like, because blood takes forever to come out? Is that why?
I think that how they framed it, just from logic, I would say that most likely they were like, it had blood on it from the trauma of this, and when she washed it, it came out into the water and stained the cloth. Because that would be something that I guess would happen at that time, but I don't really know if they embalmed people like that then. I don't know if they drained them. I have no idea how they did shit, so I don't know. I don't know how that was brought in, but I don't think there was a paranormal twist to it.
Why did the lights in your backyard just turn on?
Because he's happy to see me.
Who's happy to see you?
Him.
Oh my god. Can you not do that?
So
please tell me
so that's the camp upstairs. Of what happened. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't think Edward should have been convicted by the evidence that was presented that day.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't. I'm sorry.
It probably doesn't hold up today.
No. And I actually wrote, nowadays, I think that he would have been found fucking guilty immediately because he wouldn't have been able to move the body. He wouldn't have been able to do anything. That would have just not happened. They would have immediately known what happened.
No. I know what you mean. I meant more of like, if all they had was the information that they had, that argument doesn't hold up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Today's standards, there's so much more technology.
They would be able
DNA,
to
they would be able to figure it out.
100%.
I agree with what you're saying.
And I think that he definitely would have been
the case
convicted.
Alone, there's no way. They don't have nothing. They have nothing.
Yeah, that's fair.
They have a ghost story.
I don't think it even would have gotten to the ghost story. It wouldn't need it to. He would have been convicted before she would have seen the ghost.
Right.
Right. Either way, there's no explaining how Mary Heaster could have known about her daughter's broken neck, and because of that, the story of Elva Shue remains one of West Virginia's most intriguing tales to this day. And that is the story of the Greenbrier Ghost. I wish there was a visual.
I know.
It's the red lights, and it's just a weird atmosphere.
So, you know what's crazy?
Wait, I just want to get this out before I forget.
Go ahead.
My last theory
is
I think that George W. Knapp is the fucking hero of this whole story.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to explain.
Yeah, you were saying that, and I was so fucking excited to know why.
Okay, I'm so excited to say that. This is the thing that I feel that no one has said, and when I was reading, I was like, wait, hold on.
Wait. Can I try and guess it?
Yes.
Okay, maybe Yes. Maybe he said that, right?
What?
He said that he couldn't touch the neck and head, but ultimately he knew, but he just didn't want to.
No. That's not what
he was worried about. Edward turning on him.
No.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's a hero, not a coward.
No. Okay. I thought you meant like.
No. I think this man's a hero.
Yeah, I see.
Because honestly, I left out a little thing.
Oh, you fuck.
Because it plays with my point. I left it out. Hold on.
Even though it was information that I didn't give you.
Yeah, hold on.
How am I supposed to come up with a theory with missing information?
That's why I let you go first.
Fuck. This is the fourth time you've embarrassed me today.
So,
got it.
The reason that he went straight to George W. Knapp, of course, was because it was the doctor, George W. Knapp.
Yeah. That was.
But also because George W. Knapp wrote that it was for complications due to pregnancy, but she wasn't pregnant.
Okay.
And I think that he knew something was up and couldn't figure it out, so he wrote that as like someone's going to eventually be like, she wasn't pregnant. We got to figure this out. And say, let's do another autopsy. I really do, because he knew her for weeks. He was friends with them.
Brilliant.
That's what I think. That's what I think he did. I think that's like the genius part of the story.
You think she was like confiding in him? She's like, Doc, like I got bruises on my neck. Blah,
I
blah.
don't know. Maybe she told him about that, and he, at the time, it's kind of hard to kind of stand up for her.
Yeah.
It's a weird time for that. But like my thing with that whole thing is, he knew she wasn't pregnant. Everyone knew she wasn't pregnant, and he first labeled it as a heart attack, which. That's a doctor's job. There's no one could tell you she didn't have a heart attack, but we could tell you she's not pregnant.
But if he kept it as heart attack, no one's ever going to question it.
Exactly.
So he changed it to that.
Exactly.
So
Why would he change it? Why would he change it to that? He is obviously a very well-respected doctor. Why is he changing that to complications due to pregnancy when we all know she wasn't pregnant? They all knew she wasn't pregnant, and she never claimed to be pregnant, even if she was.
But he had a hunch.
And
he left something there.
And I truly think that he left the breadcrumbs for the fucking loaf to be found.
I like that one.
That's my big theory with this. I think that George W. Knapp is a fucking hero.
Yeah.
I think him and John Keel need to have a beer up there and have on.
R.I.P.
Or down there in hell. Listen, we don't know how it goes. Yeah. Maybe Satan's the good guy.
I like how I looked up too. Yeah, that's actually pretty valid. That's pretty valid. That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
and that's a lot easier for me to convince myself happened than fucking Mary made it all up. So
I don't think Mary made that all up.
No, I think that she was. I honestly think my thing on Mary.
Yeah,
because we didn't really talk about what our opinions are about her.
Yeah. I'm gonna get into that. So like, I am so terrified of this topic, and this is how much I love it that I'm gonna go back to the scene in my head because I fucking hate you for putting this image in my head. When she walks out, right? She shows that her neck. She walks out, what is it, 180?
She turns her neck in a 180, like not facing her. Like basically she's looking at her like I am you.
Eye contact.
Turns it fully around, looking the opposite way.
Then
turns her whole body around.
And walks
which
out.
Which is then making eye contact.
Going back to eye contact, 180.
Goes the opposite way. Yeah.
That's probably her way of saying, I broke my neck. Because probably it wasn't as audible. Like, it wasn't like words.
No. So, according to Mary, she straight up said, no, I got to fuck my neck up.
Like she said verbatim?
No, she broke my neck. Yeah.
Oh,
that was
just
from
like
her.
an image.
No, she just did that
That's
for the
even
theatricals.
Cooler.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you, Dad. So here, my honest thing with Mary is I'm going to be honest with you, right? Yeah. And this is the first time that I think I've actually admitted this out loud.
Yeah.
Because like I truly do feel like.
Right.
I think that this was literally the first ghost story that has made me feel like, all right, mate, hold on. This could be real.
Yeah.
Because like even if it was a dream and even if she was suspicious of him, she was not a doctor. This is not a time where you could Google things. She did not know that he was hiding her neck. She didn't know that. Like no one knew that. Except the doctor, and the doctor barely spoke about it until he was asked.
Right.
So, like...
So who was the one that said that he would roll up, like, towels near her neck to...
Everyone there would say it. Everybody at the wake. Yeah, but they just said it was weird and suspicious, not that it was necessarily he was hiding her neck.
And it's not like he was, like... I don't know, caressing her. He was
Exactly,
just like guarding
exactly.
the body, like don't look at her neck.
So like
What?
that's why I just can't wrap my head around how this could be any other thing other than she either had the most fucking coincidental dream on the planet, or somehow her fucking daughter crossed over to the realm and told her. I don't know, but it's crazy. I can't. This one, it really makes me feel strange.
We're not gonna get into.
I slept with the lights on last night. I'm not even gonna fuck with you.
Like that's
I
your
was
fucking
what you were
standard.
making fun of you for.
Yeah.
But I
That's
slept
your
with
standard.
my bedroom was closed. Like I slept with those lights, but I had my kitchen light on because I was genuinely creeped out because it was like, it's fucking creepy, man. It's so creepy.
So like, I'm not gonna get into it because we're gonna do an episode on Injured Cold.
Yeah.
But
that's coming sooner than you think.
Yeah. Oh, I just got so happy.
Yeah, that's coming. I would say if not next episode, the episode after that.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for the book, but it's a little behind.
When you told me about that, I never bought something so quicker. I think I bought this quicker.
Yeah.
I buy this way
more. Got me because so I have a list on my phone.
Am I crazy? I'm not crazy, bro.
I have a list on my phone.
I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I believe this. Because this is crazy, bro.
Yeah,
this is nuts.
I don't know why I said why.
This is
that makes
nuts.
sense. I'm sorry.
This is absolutely insane.
Don't mind me.
1897. This could be anything, and we're like, yo.
Honestly, again, the only reason that this stands above the rest is because of the court case. That's the reason. It's basically like if imagine if O.J. Simpson was all hearsay. It is what it is because of the court case.
Right.
You know, because they had people documenting what was being said,
but also
journalists were there. And if you take all of the things, the details that match with all of the newspapers, this is what you get.
Yeah.
This is the best example of what we have. And it makes sense when you put it together in the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really do think that this
could just be confirmation bias.
What do you mean?
It could just be like, this person's dead, and I just have
well, yeah. So here,
and I don't like this person, so I'm going to make up the story. It could still be a thing.
That's fair. And also, she could have fell down the stairs, right? But the thing was, the important thing, and I mentioned it, is she didn't have a bruise anywhere on her body.
No, I lied. You know what?
Yeah,
you know what does
right.
it for me?
What?
It's the drifter. It's the fact that he killed his other wives.
And yeah.
That's
it's
what it
one
is.
wife. The other wife lived.
The one wife and the other, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the Greenbrier Ghost. I love this story. Obviously, I'm really happy I found it. And West Virginia just keeps giving, man. There's so much shit from West Virginia. West Virginia. There's so much shit. Country mama from West Virginia, and it's Take Me Home, and it's just a real like treasure trove. Country roads. It's a real treasure trove.
I love that you do it so much better than I do.
But yeah, so that's the Greenbrier Ghost. I'm happy that I could bring that to y'all. And do me a favor, rate and fucking write a review, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, I might read it because I'm not sleeping tonight.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I agree, and I would say good night. Let's go get some fucking halal, bro.
You agree you're not sleeping?
No, I'm gonna sleep tonight. I have work tomorrow. But, I gotta edit this, so maybe not.
We love you guys.
Thank you for the support. Anybody that's listening, that's friends, that got to this point, I really appreciate it. I really do. It means a lot. And honestly, you guys, like people, like again, I'm talking to friends and family. You guys know who I am.
Yeah.
But I like genuinely. This makes my week. Like, I really
this is fun.
This. Yeah, this is the
We'd be doing this anyway. So
yeah, this is what I'd be doing
nice
anyway. And I gotta tell you, like I said earlier, God bless my cousin, because my cousin Matthew has listened to me talk about this for years, and he doesn't give a fuck. So I'm so happy that I could finally try to find people that do.
Huge fan, by the way. Love your work.
Oh, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Watch Pip, Squeak, and Stretch. I'm in that. And more to come from this. I'm not saying anything about that.
Not crazy.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. Yeah. West Virginia!
Yeah.
Mountain Mama! Take me home! Country roads! Good night, everybody.
Bye.